Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Nightrage, Abyss Rising, out February 18th on Despot Records. The album has 13 tracks, 39 minutes in length, and this is the band's 9th full-length studio album. They are a Greek melodic death metal band. And for this album, they put together a design that breaks the record into Side A and Side B. Side A is very consistent, very well put together, merging melody, heaviness, and bringing them together as one, allowing that to be the driving experience behind each and every single song. At the same time, they allow the pendulum to move more towards one or the other, so you have some ebbs and flows. This makes that portion of the record very fluid, very dynamic, very engaging, with incredible playability. Once you make it past the interlude, you see the second half of the album losing a little bit of that steam, losing a little bit of that consistency, almost watering itself down. And this is due to three specific tracks: the interlude itself and the two instrumental tracks, because outside of those, the consistency that you saw in the first half is still there. Now it's just broken, it's divided by these unnecessary songs in my opinion. When you look at the interlude, for example, it actually breaks the record. It adds no value to the album whatsoever. It kills the fluidity of the record. You need an interlude that doesn't slow down the experience, but rather reignites what comes after it. Almost like an intro to what the next song is going to be all about. It's not the case here. The two instrumental tracks, the same thing. They don't add any value to the songs that came before or the songs that come after. They just feel like they're there. So if you remove these three tracks from this record, you have perhaps 35 minutes, 10 songs. The album is a lot better. It's more compact, it's more balanced, it's more fluid, still very dynamic and engaging, and the playability goes through the roof. Now, as far as the soundscape, this is Swedish melodic death metal at its best. They have this ability to continue to push their sound, tweaking a few things here and there, but staying very close to home, very close to what their DNA has been across the previous 8 records. It's a sound that feels robust, that has depth, that has substance, that has heart, that has soul. And you see that specifically from the guitars because they are the drivers of the experience. This is a very heavy guitar-driven album, as previous records have been, and I wasn't expecting anything else. But on this album, I felt like I was really able to detect the break between the two guitars, pushing heaviness on one hand, pushing melody on the other, sometimes intertwining, sometimes separating, allowing you to really feel what the tracks were all about, feel the movement within the tracks, and therefore the movement from song to song. The bass lines on this record are phenomenal. Another beacon that this record offers the listener. You can really hear the bass, but you can also really feel what the bass is doing song in and song out in terms of helping the drums create not just the backdrop, but also the foundation and gluing the whole sound together in order for you to have that sense of depth and substance that's really important in order for the sound to feel robust, to feel big. Now, the drums were not as consistent as I would like. They offer heaviness, they offer power, they offer depth in the tracks that had that heavy backdrop to them. The songs that push more of a melodic approach, the drums lost a little bit of steam. I would have liked to see the drums be more consistent across every single track, regardless of where the guitars are going, regardless of what direction the song has. It would make the album have that sense of heaviness, even though it would not be necessarily heavy across each and every single song. But it would help the overall design, it would help the overall sense of consistency and balance from start to finish. One element that is super consistent is the vocals. What you get at the first song is exactly what you're going to get all the way through to the last. Now, I like a little bit of those backing vocals, those layers that pop up in some of the choruses, really helped create substance, really helped to push the paradigm in terms of what the vocals are all about without having to change too much. But it almost helps give a sense of an anthem. It makes the songs feel a lot more hooky, a lot more catchy, playing really well into the melodic side of this band. Outside of that, I love the tone. I think the vocals on Nightrage on this specific album match the overall design that the band had for the record, that the band had for the sound, and the overall execution matches that soundscape perfectly. Now, when you look at this album in general, you see the quality of the songs, and you really hope that they would have done something that would make this album feel like that quality was just interconnected from track to track, and there was no cracks, no pauses. Those 3 tracks really extend the record unnecessarily. The album didn't need them, and actually it hurts the overall playability. Like I said earlier, the album could have been a lot better, more compact, more cohesive, more to the point. This is definitely a case of less would have been more. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Swallow Me, a very melodic and methodic track. It doesn't move super fast. It moves slow. It allows that melody to just kind of breathe throughout the entire song. Great bass from start to finish. The bass on this track is outstanding. You can hear it, you can feel it, you can see what it's doing in terms of connecting all of the other elements, helping to create depth, and really helping the drums to have a little bit more power, a little bit more substance, without the drums themselves having to be super heavy, because this is one of those more melodically driven songs, so the drums have a more subdued role in their design throughout the entire track. The guitars drive the experience, and the chorus is super melodic and super hooky. Musically and vocally, I really love the chorus because you see those layers behind it. The vocals really have a positive impact in terms of how the song feels, in terms of how the song starts. That chorus stands out in the crowd and allows the verses to be very different. This creates the ebbs and flows and makes the song melodic but driven at the same time, and putting some consistency into it. Next you have Shadows Embrace Me. Outside of the singles, this is my absolute favorite track on the album. It builds in from the intro, and then you get this mixture of heaviness and melody that just never really goes away. That becomes the core DNA of the overall song. Now, this is not to say that the song is linear from start to finish. Far from it. One of the most dynamic tracks. It has stops and goes. It has moments that the song almost pauses and then it reignites itself. But when it reignites itself, it sounds not just more melodic, it also sounds heavier, giving power to the song, creating a more drivable track, a track that becomes a more dynamic with a lot more movement, becoming more engaging, more entertaining, because you always want to see what's coming around the corner. Just a beautiful track in terms of how it's constructed, and musically in terms of how it's delivered. You're still going to get a super melodic, super hooky chorus, both musically and vocally. A lot of the elements of Swallow Me as far as the chorus is concerned, they're going to almost repeat them in this song, working really well for the overall design. The drums also help define this track a little bit better, but overall it's a super complete track. Musically and vocally, there's really no cracks in it. It's just everything that you want from a song as far as Nightrage is concerned. Last but not least, False Gods, perhaps a more linear track of the previous two. What you get at the beginning is pretty much what you're going to get all the way through. There's not much of a break between what the verses are giving you and what the chorus has in store. There is a slight movement, but it's very minimal. It's really a nuance. So there's always this sense of fluidity, unstoppable fluidity from start to finish, that you feel like the song never really pauses, never really breaks, regardless of which part you're in. The guitars are still the ones pushing and driving some consistency. The melody that this track has becomes the earworm. The song itself as a whole becomes earworm because that melody intertwines itself all the way from the start to finish, regardless if you're in the verses, regardless if you're into the chorus. So it's not about a specific portion of the track that becomes memorable or that becomes the calling card of the song itself, is the song as a whole. So that's one of the reasons why I love False Gods. This is it. Nightrage, Abyss Rising, out February 18th on Despot Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.